I died choking on my own blood in the back of that rain-slicked SUV. My husband's hands slick with betrayal as he staged the crash to look like an accident. The last thing I saw was his face in the rearview mirror. Twisted not in grief, but in cold calculation. Whispering, "I'm sorry," like it meant a damn thing. And then, nothing, until the world snapped back into focus. My heart slamming against ribs that shouldn't be whole. The taste of cheap diner coffee burning my tongue as I stared at my reflection in the greasy spoon's window. 25 again. 3 years before the wreck that ended me. It was impossible. I'd clawed my way through life once already, only to have it ripped away by the people I trusted most. But here I was, Vivian Hale, alive in a body that hadn't yet been broken, sitting in a booth off I-95 in Jersey, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing like the lies I'd soon unravel. My phone vibrated, a text from Ethan, my fiancé, the man who'd one day murder me for a fortune he didn't know I was protecting. "Miss you already,
Babe.
dinner at 7. I deleted it without replying, my fingers trembling. This time, I wouldn't play the loving wife. This time, I'd burn it all down before they could bury me. The secret started with Grandpa Harlan. He wasn't just rich, he was the kind of old money that whispered through Wall Street boardrooms and bought senators' silence. I'd always known he favored me, the only granddaughter with his late wife's eyes. The one he dragged to polo matches in the Hamptons instead of letting rot in our crumbling family estate in upstate New York. But on that crisp October morning 3 years ago, the morning I was reborn into, he showed up unannounced at our family brunch in the city. His Bentley idling like a predator outside the French bistro on the Upper East Side. We were all there, Mom,
Dad,
my brother Marcus, Ethan already worming his way in, and Aunt Lydia with her perpetual martini glass. Harlan swept in like he owned the place, which, in a way, he did, his silver hair impeccable, cane tapping the marble floor like a metronome counting down to chaos. "Viv," he barked, ignoring the rest as he slid into the booth beside me, his cologne sharp as aged bourbon. The others froze mid-bite, forks hovering over Eggs Benedict. Harlan never did brunch, he did power lunches at Delmonico's. But today, his eyes, those sharp blue slits that had stared down oil tycoons, were locked on mine, feverish with something I'd later recognize as fear. He pressed a thick manila envelope into my lap under the table. His whisper gravelly, "Don't open it till I'm gone. And for God's sake, girl, don't trust a soul in this snake pit." Then he stood, nodded curtly to the family like they were staff, and vanished into the autumn chill, leaving a wake of stunned silence and the faint scent of impending doom. Mom broke it first, her Botox smile cracking like cheap porcelain. "Well,
that was
Harlan being Harlan." She laughed, too high and brittle, but her eyes darted to the envelope's edge peeking from my purse. Dad cleared his throat, adjusting his tie, the one Harlan had bought him last Christmas as a reminder of who signs your checks. Marcus, my golden boy brother, leaned back with that smug grin, the one that said he was already calculating how Grandpa's whims might screw his latest real estate scam. Ethan squeezed my knee under the table, his touch warm and reassuring. God, how I'd fallen for that act. Aunt Lydia just sipped her mimosa, her painted lips curling like she knew a punchline we didn't. I clutched the envelope all through brunch, my appetite gone, the weight of it heavier than the diamond Ethan had slipped on my fingers 6 months prior. By the time we piled into cabs back to the apartment, our sleek 2-bedroom overlooking Central Park that Ethan's tech startup mysteriously afforded, I couldn't wait anymore. The door clicked shut behind us, and I tore it open on the kitchen island, papers spilling like confetti from hell, legal docs, grainy photos, a handwritten letter in Harlan's spidery script. My hands shook as I scanned the top sheet, a codicil to his will, dated the night before, naming me sole heir to his $800 million empire. Contingent on one thing: exposing the cancer eating the family from within. Ethan hovered behind me, feigning casual interest. "What's Grandpa Dearest up to now? Another guilt trip?" His laugh was easy, boyish, the kind that had charmed boardrooms and bedrooms alike. But I saw it now, the flicker in his eyes, the way his fingers twitched like he was already plotting contingencies. The letter laid it bare. Harlan had discovered the rot years ago. A web of embezzlement and blackmail traced back to Dad and Marcus, who'd been siphoning funds from the family trust to cover bad bets and worse habits. But the real gut punch? Aunt Lydia, sweet, boozy Aunt Lydia, was the architect, using her harmless gossip network to leverage dirt on everyone, including a faked affair she'd pinned on Mom to keep her in line. And Ethan? He wasn't just my fiancé, he was Lydia's plant. A con man she'd groomed to seduce me, marry in, and ensure the fortune flowed their way once Harlan kicked it. I died because of that envelope. In my first life, I'd confronted them too soon,
Too naively.
waving it like a white flag at a family summit Harlan called before his heart attack, the one Lydia spiked a scotch for. They turned on me like wolves, Marcus holding me down while Dad forged the docs to make it look like I'd stolen the money. Ethan driving the getaway after they accidentally crashed my car off a bridge. The cops ruled it suicide. Who'd believe the black sheep heiress over the grieving family?
But now,
Reborn with the stink of death still fresh in my nostrils, I folded the papers away, pasted on a smile, and lied through my teeth. Just some old investment notes. Boring as hell. That night, as Ethan fucked me on our Egyptian cotton sheets, his rhythm mechanical, eyes distant with schemes I now recognized, I stared at the ceiling fan whirring like a guillotine blade, plotting my first move. Revenge wasn't a dish, it was a slow poison, and I'd make them drink deep. Step 1. Play the doting fiancé. Let them think the hook was set. Step 2. Dig deeper into Harlan's warnings. Unearth the bodies they'd buried in board minutes and offshore accounts. But the controversial part? I'd have to become the monster they accused me of being, seduce allies, fabricate scandals, maybe even sleep with the enemy to flip the board. America loves a comeback story, but mine would be laced with enough gray to make the tabloids cream their jeans. The days blurred into a tense masquerade. By Monday, I was back at my job, junior analyst at Harlan's conglomerate, Hale Industries. The kind of gig where you crunch numbers for billionaires who lunch on caviar. In my first life, I'd quit after the engagement, letting Ethan support us while he drained my trust fund dry. This time, I doubled down, volunteering for the audit team on the family trust. Late nights in the glass tower on Park Avenue, poring over ledgers that screamed fraud, $2 million funneled to Marcus's shell company in the Caymans, disguised as consulting fees. Dad's signature on every one, shaky from the whiskey he hid in his desk drawer. Harlan called me into his office that week, the penthouse airy with views that made you feel like God. Mahogany walls lined with Picasso's he'd acquired during the war. He looked friendlier than I remembered, but his grip on the desk was iron as he grilled me. "You read it?" I nodded, throat tight. He leaned in, voice a rasp. "They're circling."
Viv.
"Lydia's got ears everywhere, hell. She's probably bugged this room. But you're clean."
Smart.
"Use it." He slid a USB drive across the blotter. Encrypted files on Lydia's dirt, Photos of her with a string of lovers, including a senator who'd fast-tracked hail permits, audio of her coaching Marcus on how to disappear a rival exec who'd gotten too nosy. I pocketed it, heart pounding. What about Ethan? Harlan's laugh was bitter smoke. Boy's a snake in khakis. Charming as sin, but he'd sell his soul for a yacht. Watch him.
Girl.
And remember, blood ain't thicker than ink on a contract. He dismissed me with a wave, but not before pressing a check into my hand, $50,000, for incidentals. Incidentals like hiring a PI, or buying burner phones, or the black market voice recorder. I'd need to catch them in the act. Back home, the facade cracked just enough to keep me sane. Ethan was ramping up the charm offensive, talking marriage timelines over takeout sushi, his hand on my thigh like ownership. Babe, let's make it official soon. Your grandpa's loaded. We could start that life we dreamed of. The life, Hampton summers, kids with trust funds, me barefoot in the kitchen while he climbed the ladder on Harlan's dime. I smiled, swirled my wine. Soon. But let's keep it quiet for now. Family drama. You know, he bought it. Or pretended to. Pulling me close with that cologne-scented hug that once melted me. But alone, I seethed. The betrayal wasn't just the money, it was the erasure. In my first life, they'd painted me as the addict, the gold digger, leaking stories to page 6 about my erratic behavior post-crash. Mom's tears on the news. She was troubled, but we loved her. Bullshit. They'd killed the part of me that believed in family, in loyalty.
Now.
Reborn. I'd resurrected as a weapon. My first strike came subtle, an anonymous tip to the SEC about irregularities in Marcus's deals. Nothing traceable, just enough to trigger an audit that'd keep him sweating. I watched from afar as he unraveled at the next family dinner, our monthly ritual at the estate. That sprawling Gothic pile in the Hudson Valley with its creaking floors and ghosts of old money. Lydia presided like a queen, her laugh tinkling over roast lamb. But her eyes were daggers when Marcus vented about some bullshit investigation. Calm down, darling, she cooed, patting his hand. These things blow over. Especially when you have friends in high places. Ethan, ever the peacemaker, steered the talk to wedding plans, his arm around me possessive. But I caught Dad's glance, furtive, calculating, and Mom's forced cheer as she refilled my glass. Vivian. Honey, you look radiant. Ethan's good for you. If only she knew how good he'd been at staging my overdose before the crash. Slipping pills into my champagne at that rehearsal dinner. That night, as thunder rolled over the valley, I slipped out to the stables, Harlan's old haunt, where he'd hidden moonshine during Prohibition. The air was thick with hay and regret. I needed air, needed to scream without echoes. But footsteps crunched behind me, Ethan, silhouette sharp against the lantern light. Can't sleep? His voice was soft.
Concerned. Too soft.
We talked, or rather, he monologued about futures and fortunes, his hand brushing mine as we leaned on the fence, horses snorting in the dark. It was a test, my first real one. I let him kiss me, deep and urgent, my mind cataloging every tell, the way his eyes flicked to the house, checking for witnesses, the subtle probe. Harlan say anything interesting lately? I pulled back, laughed it off. Just grandpa stuff. Boring. But as he walked me back, arm linked in mine, I whispered into the wind, "You're mine now, you bastard." And I'll make you beg. The audit hit Marcus like a freight train. By week's end, he was calling emergency meetings, his Porsche screeching into the city for crisis talks with Dad and Lydia at some midtown cigar lounge. I knew because I'd bugged his phone, a quick swap during a hug at brunch. The app Harlan's tech guy had slipped me. Their voices crackled through my earbuds as I jogged Central Park. Lydia's hiss. The girl's onto something. Harlan's been too cozy with her. Dad's bluster. We handle it like last time. Make it look like her screw-up. Marcus. Panicked. Last time? You mean the intern? Jesus. Lydia. That could come back.
Last time.
The missing pieces clicked. The suicide of that junior accountant who'd flagged the first embezzlement. Ruled a jumper from the Brooklyn Bridge. Lydia's work. No doubt. With her web of dirty cops and bought juries. Ethan stayed clean on the surface. Doubling down on romance, surprise tickets to a Knicks game. Whispers of eloping to Vegas. But I saw the strain late-night calls he took in the bathroom. Voice low and urgent.
Yeah.
She's clueless. Give it time. To whom? Lydia. Probably. Reporting in like a good little spy. The controversial decision loomed. Confront him? No. Too soon. Instead, I leaned into the gray, started flirting back harder. Planting doubts. Over dinner at Per Se, I confided a fake worry. Ethan. What if Harlan cuts me out? He hates how close we've gotten. His reassurance was too quick. Too rehearsed. Babe. He'd never. You're his favorite. But his grip on the fork whitened, and I knew the seed was sown. Harlan's health dipped then, a minor stroke, the doc said, but I saw the truth in his hospital room at Mount Sinai. Monitors beeping like accusations. He gripped my hand for dripping morphine dreams.
Viv.
The will. Safe deposit box. First National. Keys in the Raven. The Raven, that antique statue on his desk. Hollowed out for secrets. And Ethan cut him loose. He's poison. I nodded. Tear's real for once. I will.
Grandpa.
I promise. He faded then, eyes fluttering shut, but not before murmuring. Make him pay?
Girl.
For all of us. He died 2 days later. Official cause heart failure. But the autopsy Harlan's lawyer rushed showed traces of digitalis, foxglove. Odorless in scotch. Lydia's signature cocktail. The funeral was a circus. Black limos snaking through Woodlawn Cemetery. Paparazzi flashing like vultures. I stood graveside in Chanel black. Ethan's arm heavy around me. While Marcus eulogized lies about family first. Inside. I burned. This was my second chance at goodbye. And it tasted like ash. The reading came a week later. In Harlan's library, leather-bound tomes and a fireplace roaring against October chill. The lawyer, a shark named Kessler, cleared his throat. To Vivian Hale, the entirety of the estate, minus bequest to charities. Gasps rippled, Mom's hand to her mouth. Dad's face purpling. Marcus slamming a fist on the armrest. Lydia, cool as ice. Sipping tea like it was ambrosia. Ethan squeezed my hand, pride, or plotting my accident already. But Kessler wasn't done. Contingent upon MS. Hale's discretion in handling certain family matters. The room froze. I met Lydia's gaze. Her smile a razor. Game on. That night, the wolves descended. Dinner at the apartment, family support, Mom called it. But the wine flowed like accusations. Marcus paced. Ty ask you. Viv. This is bullshit. Grandpa was senile. Those meds fried his brain. Dad nodded. Ernest, we can contest it. Honey, keep it in the family. Ethan played neutral, rubbing my back. Whatever you want.
Babe.
But Lydia, oh, she was the blade. Leaning in, voice silk over steel. Darling, blood is blood. Don't let one old man's paranoia tear us apart. We've all made mistakes. Mistakes. Like killing him. Like killing me. I smiled.
Poured more Cabernet.
Of course. We'll figure it out. But as they filed out, hugs laced with venom, I locked the door and cracked the safe deposit box files Kessler had couriered over. The full codicil, not just the will, but evidence, emails, wire transfers, a recorded confession from Dad to Harlan years back, begging forgiveness for the indiscretion with the books. And the kicker, Lydia's affair with Harlan himself. Decades ago, twisted into blackmail when he cut her off. She'd poisoned her own lover to spite him. The revenge escalated. I hired muscle, ex-Fed types through Kessler, to tail Marcus, catching him mid-shakedown of a bookie in Hell's Kitchen. Leaked to the Times. Hail Scion in gambling probe. Dad's turn next. Anonymous IRS tip on his offshore slush fund. Disguised as widow's remittances to mom's sister in Panama, really Lydia's numbered account. The heat turned up. Family text blew up my phone. What the hell? Viv? From Marcus. We need to talk from Dad. Ethan? Silent, but his touches turned clingy. Desperate. The controversial pivot came mid-November. Snow dusting the city like dirty secrets. Lydia invited me to tea at the plaza, her turf. The palm court with its crystal chandeliers and whispers of old scandals. She looked every inch the dowager. Pearls, Chanel suit, eyes like a cobra's. Vivian, let's cut the crap. Harlan's gone. The money's yours. But family's forever. Drop the audits. And we all win. Her offer, a cool $100 million to walk away. Plus Ethan's hand in holy matrimony. I sip my Earl Grey. Heart hammering. Accept. And I'd be safe, but complicit. Letting killers skate. Refuse. And she'd escalate. Maybe stage my breakdown sooner. The gray choice. Play along. But flip it. Deal, I said, extending my hand. Her smile widened. Victory. But as we shook, I slipped the USB from my purse under the table. The one with her confession audio. Now cloned to Kessler's server with a dead man switch. If I died. It went public. Ethan proposed that weekend. Down on one knee, in the apartment. Ring glinting like a noose. Marry me.
Viv.
Let's build this empire together. His eyes pleaded fear. Not love. I said yes. Tears streaming for the cameras he'd forgotten to turn off. Page 6 ate it up. Hail heiress's fairy tale engagement amid family feud. But that night, as he slept, I wired $5 million to a Cayman account in his name, Bait, traced back to Lydia's network. Let the feds connect those dots. Christmas loomed, the estate decked in lights that mocked our darkness. The family gathering was mandatory for unity, Lydia decreed. I arrived with Ethan, gifts wrapped in lies, a Rolex for Dad, vintage scotch for Marcus, laced with a tracker, pearls for Mom. Lydia pulled me aside in the solarium, orchids blooming like blood. Smart girl. The money's transferring tomorrow. Her hug was maternal poison. But the climax brewed in the study, after midnight mass and mulled wine. I cornered Ethan there, fire crackling as snow whipped the windows. Tell me the truth, I whispered, pressing play on my phone, the bugged call. Yeah. She's clueless. Give it time. His face drained of color. Viv. It's not. It is. I stepped closer. Voice steel. You were her pawn from day one. The crash. The pills, all planned. He crumpled, confessing in sobs. Lydia's grooming. The promise of half the cut. The mercy of making my death quick. I loved you.
I swear.
But she owns us all. The door burst open, Marcus. Wild-eyed. Gun from God knows where trembling in his fist. You bitch. The feds are at the gate. You're doing? Dad behind him. Face ashen. Lydia last. Serene as death. TSK.
Vivian.
I did warn you about family. Chaos erupted. Shouts. The gun waving like a conductor's baton. My controversial call, the one that'd haunt me, was to push. Shoot me, Marcus. Like you did the accountant. Like we all know Lydia did Harlan. Lies, twisted truth. But it landed. Dad lunged for the gun, grappling his son. Ethan shoved me aside, taking the wild shot meant for my chest, bullet tearing through his shoulder, blood blooming dark on his shirt. He hit the floor, gasping, eyes locked on mine, betrayal's mirror. Sirens wailed, Kessler's alert, triggered by my heartbeat monitor. Cops swarmed, cuffs clicking on wrists. Lydia spat as they Mirandized her. You think you've won? This family's cursed. You'll rot in it. Marcus babbled innocence. Dad invoked lawyers. Ethan stretchered out, whispered my name like a curse. The twist came in the squad car. Lydia cuffed beside me, her laugh bubbling manic.
Oh.
Sweetie. You think the will was the secret? Harlan wasn't your grandfather. My blood iced.
What?
DNA test. Post-mortem. Your real dad? The senator I betted. The one Harlan blackmailed me over. You're no Hale. Just a bastard with a killer instinct. The envelope's final page. Hidden. A paternity reveal. Harlan's last laugh. Naming the heir anyway because blood don't mean shit, loyalty does. But she'd known. Used it to pull strings. Even spike my wine that first life with abortifacients to keep the line pure. Court dragged into spring. Please. Deals. Headlines screaming Hale dynasty implodes. Murder. Mayhem. And a $800 million motive. Lydia took the fall for Harlan. 25 to life. Marcus and Dad. Fraud and manslaughter. 15 apiece.
Ethan?
Healed, but broken, testified against them for immunity. Then vanished to witness protection. A ghost I'd never hunt. I kept the empire. Rebuilt it clean, green tech. Scholarships for troubled kids like the old me. But the happy ending? It tasted bittersweet. No family left but echoes. And in quiet nights, I wonder if rebirth was mercy or curse. Prayed for one more day once, got a lifetime, laced with thorns. America forgives winners. But me? I'll sleep with one eye open, waiting for the next snake. Rebirth's gift was clarity, but clarity's curse was isolation. Weeks after the arrests, the estate felt like a mausoleum, dust motes dancing in sunbeams that slanted through leaded glass, illuminating portraits of Hales who died rich and unfulfilled. I wandered the halls alone, Harlan's raven statue mocking me from the mantel, its beak pried open to reveal nothing. I'd emptied it. Keys. Codes. The crumpled note reading trust no one, especially kin. Lydia's revelation echoed. Bastard blood. Unfit heir. But Harlan's will stood, ironclad. His lawyer Kessler smirking through depositions. The old man knew. Chose you anyway. The press frenzy peaked with a Vanity Fair profile. Vivian Hale, from victim to vixen? They painted me as the ice queen who'd orchestrated the fall. Sleeping my way to the top, Ethan's shoulder wound twisted into a lover's quarrel. Controversial? Hell yes. I didn't correct them. Let the rumors fester. They kept the vultures circling. Easier to spot. My first public move, a gala at the Met. Black gown clinging like armor. Arm linked with a tech mogul I'd befriended at a fundraiser. Whispers followed. She's ruthless.
Hot.
But cold.
Good.
Fear was my new cologne. But nights were war zones. Dreams replayed the crash, tires screeching on wet asphalt. Ethan's profile etched in lightning. My screams swallowed by the river's roar. I'd wake gasping. Sheets tangled. Reaching for a husband who was a ghost. Therapy?
Please.
A Hale didn't unpack on a couch. We buried it in boardrooms. Instead, I dove into the company. Firing cronies loyal to the old guard. Installing my picks. Sharp women from Brooklyn startups. Queer coders overlooked by the suits. Hale Industries pivoted, solar farms in the Southwest. AI for underserved clinics. Profits soared. But so did the hate mail, gold-digging whore ruins legacy. Ethan resurfaced in fragments, a tabloid blurry of him in witness protection. Some nowhere town in Oregon. Sporting a beard and barista apron. Part of me ached. The boy I'd loved before the lies was in there. Twisted by Lydia's web. Controversial impulse. I almost called. Offered a truce.
But nah.
He chose the snake. Let it swallow him. Marcus's trial was the real circus. Federal courthouse in Foley Square. Summer heat turning the air to soup. He looked smaller and orange. His lawyer spinning tales of coerced confessions. I testified. Voice steady. The bugs. The calls. The gun in the study. Jurors, working stiffs from Queens, ate it up. Especially when I dropped the accountant bombshell. Her photo projected large. Young. Latina. Eyes full of promise snuffed by a bridge jump. They called it suicide, I said. Throat tight. But we know better. Conviction. Guilty on all counts. His glare as they led him away? Pure venom. This ain't over. Sis. Dad copped a plea. Snitching on Lydia for leniency. Details of her consulting gigs. Really extortion rackets targeting Wall Street widows. Mom visited him in Rikers. Her face gaunt in the photos Kessler sent. She reached out once. A letter scented with Chanel No. 5. Vivian. Forgive us. We were weak. I burned it in the estate's fireplace. Ashes scattering like old promises. Lydia's trial was theater, Southern District. Fall leaves turning the park red as blood money. She played the grande dame. Hair silvered to halo. Testifying in a voice like aged velvet. Harlan was my everything. I nursed him through his decline.
Lies. All.
But the jury, Manhattan elites, wavered. Until I took the stand. You poisoned him, I said, holding up the tox report. And me, twice. Once with pills. Once with a car. Gasps rippled. Her cross. Jealous little girl. Aren't you? Daddy wasn't even his. The courtroom hushed. Judge banged gavel. Sustained irrelevant. But damage done. Whispers spread. Convictions stuck. Life without parole. As guards hauled her, she leaned close. You'll join me soon.
Dear.
Family curse. Post-trial, the twist deepened. Kessler delivered the final envelope, Harlan's Raven's Egg, a video. Grainy from 95. Lydia young and frantic in his office. Harlan, the girl's yours, mine, and the senator's indiscretion. But raise her right, or I'll ruin you. He'd known all along. Adopted me quietly. Wove me into the will as his true legacy. Bastard? Maybe. But loved? Undeniably. Tears came then, hot and unbidden, as rain lashed the windows. For the first time, rebirth felt like grace. Rebuilding meant risks. A boardroom coup brewed, old guard uncles, Lydia's cousins, sniffing for weakness. I crushed it with a hostile takeover, buying shares through proxies, emerging CEO unchallenged. Controversial flourish. I donated 20% to a foundation for domestic violence survivors, naming it after the accountant. Headlines screamed Hale's redemption or PR stunt. Let 'em argue. The checks cleared. Ethan's letter arrived Christmas Eve. Postmarked nowhere. Viv. I see you on the news, Queen of Ashes. I was weak. She owned me.
But you?
You're fire. Forgive?
No.
But live for us both. I folded it away. Uncorked Harlan's bourbon. To fire.
Then.
To family redefined. But tension simmered. A shadow in the estate's drive one stormy night. Paparazzi? Or worse. I gripped the Raven key like a talisman. Heart racing. Rebirth promised revenge. But peace? That was the real fight. Winter thawed into a brutal spring. The kind where Manhattan's grit turns to slush under your Louboutins. Mirroring the mess I'd made of my soul. Hale Industries hummed, stock up 30%. My face on Forbes 30 under 35 despite the scandals. But success was a spotlight. And spotlights breed assassins. The first threat came anonymous, a bouquet of foxglove at the office. Card reading one bloom for old times. Lydia's handiwork. From her cell in Bedford Hills. Guards doubled. Kessler installed panic rooms. I laughed it off in interviews, haters gonna hate, but slept with a Glock under my pillow. Harlan's old service piece. The board stabilized. But family ghosts lingered. Mom surfaced, gaunt and Gucci'd, at a charity luncheon in the village. Vivian, she murmured over salad niçoise. Your father. He's broken. Her eyes, once sharp, now pleading. Controversial crossroads. Cut her off. Or reel her in. I chose the hook. Visit the estate. No strings. She arrived that weekend. The Hudson Valley blooming traitorously pretty. We walked the gardens, tulips Harlan planted for Gran, her arm tentative in mine. I knew about the money, she confessed. Voice small. Turned a blind eye. For stability. Stability. The cage she'd built. I didn't absolve, just listened. By dusk, over tea in the solarium, she'd spilled Lydia's hold. Threats of exposing Mom's own youthful errors, a shoplifted necklace in the 80s. Leveraged into silence. She owned us all.
Viv.
Even Ethan. Ethan. His name hung like smoke. Mom's intel. He'd bolted to Portland, waitering at a hipster joint. But whispers of relapse, coke-fueled nights. Chasing ghosts. Part of me pitted. The rest plotted. I hired a PI. Low-key tale. Reports trickled. Clean living. Mostly. but therapy sessions ranting about the witch who broke me. Controversial urge. Reach out. I did. Burner to burner. Alive?
Reply, barely.
You? Thriving. Silence. Then, deserve it. Closure?
Nah. Bait.
Marcus's appeal hit summer. A farce in appellate court. He claimed coercion. Me the puppet master. His lawyer paraded character witnesses, golf buddies swearing he was a good egg. I countered with the bookie's affidavit. Bruises documented. Judge tossed it. Marcus got an extra year for contempt when he lunged at me in the hall. Snarling, thieving cunt. Cops tossed him. I walked out to flashing bulbs, chin high. But the slur stuck. Fueling online trolls. Vivian the Vulture. America loves a villainess. I owned it. Tweeting back. Better a vulture than a worm. The Empire's shadows deepened with a whistleblower, internal. One of my new hires. A quant named Raj who'd uncovered legacy anomalies. Payments to a Delaware shell tied to.
Me?
Forged. Obviously, Dad's parting gift from prison scrawls. SEC probed. Stocks dipped 5%. Crisis mode. All-nighters in the tower. Me in sweats chain-smoking Harlan's camels. Kessler barking orders. We traced it to a cousin in accounting. Lydia's mole. Fired him publicly. But the damage? Trust eroded. Board whispers, is she stable? Controversial fix. Oppressor. Tearful admission of family sabotage. Vowing transparency. Shares rebounded. I looked vulnerable. Human. Inside. Rage boiled. How dare they question me? The one who'd bled for this? Harlan's birthday, what would have been 82, I spent at his grave. Woodlawn's oaks whispering secrets. Poured bourbon on the stone. Miss you. Old man. Made M pay. Wind carried it away. But a figure emerged from the mist. Mom. Bouquet in hand. He'd be proud, she said, linking arms. We'd grown closer, tentative brunches. Her stories of Grand's rebellion. Shoplifting that necklace to spite a cheating beau. Strength runs in the blood, she murmured. Even bastard blood?
Yeah.
She stayed the night. The estate alive with laughter for the first time. Pasta from Rouse. Bad rom-coms.
Dawn.
She hugged tight. Don't let them make you lonely. Viv. Too late. Ethan's pull intensified. PI photos, him at AA meetings. Eyes haunted. A call. Why'd you text? His voice cracked. Curiosity. Or masochism. We talked. Hours.
Voices raw.
He owned the crash planning. Lydia's puppet strings. The love that curdled to convenience. I see you now, Queen. Not prize. Controversial. Invite him back? Risky as hell. Come to the city. Coffee. Neutral ground. He agreed. Meeting at a diner off Union Square. Greasy spoons. Our origin vibe. He looked older. Lines etched by regret. Flannel over tattoos I'd traced once. Coffee steamed between us. Words tumbled. I deserved jail, he said, stirring sugar endlessly. But she. Lydia broke something in all of us. I nodded. Throat tight. Including me. No absolution. But understanding gray as the revenge I'd wrought. He left with a hug. Chaste and aching. Be happy. Viv. I watched him go. Heart a war drum. Foolish? Maybe. Human? Definitely. Fall brought harvest, literally. At the estate's vineyard Harlan revived in the 90s. I hosted a retreat. Execs. Allies. Mom as sommelier. Laughter echoed. Deals sealed over Cabernet. But tension spiked with a crash, not mine, but a hacker breach. Files leaked. The will's paternity clause splashed across TMZ. Hail, heiress of fraud? Stocks tanked 12%. Calls flooded. Lydia's doing. Prison smuggled phone. Controversial counter. Embrace it. Press conference. Flanked by Kessler. DNA doesn't define legacy. Harlan chose me. That's the story. Shares climbed. Narrative flipped to empowerment tale. But privately, doubt gnawed. Was I worthy? The real climax brewed in November. Election season's frenzy masking darker plots. An uncle, minor Hale, bitter over scraps, surfaced with a lawsuit, contesting the will on undue influence. Discovery unearthed more. Lydia's letters from jail. Coaching him on witness tampering. Feds looped in. Sting op launched. I played bait. Meeting him at a steakhouse in Midtown. Wire hidden under silk. Drop the suit. He slurred over porterhouse. And we split the pot. Click, recorded. Arrest a dessert. Headlines crowed Hale clean sweep. But the twist's shadow loomed. Ethan's call. Panicked. They're after me. Lydia's crew. Loose ends. Portland PD reported a firebomb at his apartment. Him escaping singed. Controversial. Extract him? I did. Private jet to Teterboro. Stashing him in a safe house upstate. Face to face. Scars fresh. He broke. I can't run forever. Neither could I. In the firelight, walls crumbled, not love, but alliance. Help me end it, I said. He nodded, eyes fierce. Partners in the pyre. As snow fell again, the empire solidified, but peace, fleeting. Rebirth taught, vengeance sates, but voids linger. I poured Harlan's bourbon, toasting shadows. One more day, I'd take the storm. The new year dawned bloody, not mine, but Lydia's networks. Feds raided a Jersey warehouse, netting her lieutenants, fixers, hackers, a doc who'd faked the accountant's autopsy. Trials stacked like cordwood. I testified remotely, voice steady over video link. The courtroom a blur of suits and scowls. She built an empire on bones, I said, echoing Harlan. Convictions rolled. Racketeering. Conspiracy. Lydia watched from prison feed, her image frozen in contempt. A smuggled note arrived post-verdict. Proud of you, daughter dear. But queens fall too. Chilling, but toothless, her web shredded. Ethan integrated slow. A ghost in the estate's guest wing. We didn't touch boundaries steel, but talked strategy till dawn, his insider knowledge on Lydia's offshore vaults. My resources to crack M. Controversial dynamic. Ex-killer as confidant? Tabloid sniffed, dubbing us the toxic twosome. We ignored. Focusing fire. By March, we'd frozen $40 million in Cayman Frost, donating to victim funds. His therapy continued. Mine? The vineyard. Dirt under nails. Grapes crushed like grudges. Mom bloomed into ally, redecorating the solarium with grand sketches. Hosting salons for female execs. Family 2.0, she quipped over Rose. Her strength surprised. She'd started a blog. Anonymous. On surviving narcissists. Readers flooded. You saved me. I read in secret. Proud tears stinging. Dad wrote from prison contrite letters. Therapy mandated. I replied once, heal. Maybe then. No visits. But the door cracked. The Empire Peak Spring. IPO for the green arm. Shares exploding. Me ringing the bell at NASDAQ in a power suit. Mom and Ethan in the crowd. Cheers thundering. After party at the top of the rock. City lights sprawling like conquered foes. Ethan pulled me aside. Skyline glittering. You did it, Viv. Without becoming them. His hand brushed mine, spark, not flame. And you? I asked. Trying. We danced. Platonic waltz amid moguls. A fragile truce. But tension-crested summer. Heat wave baking the valley. A threat escalated. Sniper sighted near the estate. Bolt-action rifle. Pro-marksman. Secret Service level detail swarmed. I went underground. War room in the bunker Harlan built for Y2K. Ethan paced. Loading clips. Lydia's last gasp hit you. She martyrs herself. Intel confirmed. A cousin sprung from county. Her bidding. Stakeout netted him at dusk. Rifle in trunk. Heading for the ridge. Interrogation cracked. She said you'd beg. Feds charged. Lydia indicted for solicitation. Her trial, final act, fall in Foley Square again. She pled. Voice breaking for cameras. I protected the family. Judge. From itself. 10 more years. The twist unraveled in epilogue whispers. Post-sentencing. Kessler delivered the Raven's final secret, a letter from Harlan. Dated my death day in the first life, prescient, or psychic.
Viv.
If you're reading this, you clawed back. Good girl. The fortune's yours. But so's the choice, hoard or heal. I chose wrong, greed over kin. Don't. Enclosed, a deed to a Montana ranch. Off-grid. For starting over. Ethan saw it first. Let's go. You?
Me?
No ghosts. Controversial endgame. Abdicate? Sell Hale shares. Vanish to big skies? Board balked. Irresponsible. But I countered with succession. Mama's chair. Diverse council. Press exploded. Heiress abdicates. Scandal or sainthood. We slipped away Labor Day. Convoy to Bozeman. The ranch a sprawl of pines and creeks. First night. Stars blanketing like forgiveness. Ethan and I sat fire pit side. Bourbon shared. Love you, he asked.
Tentative.
Maybe, I said. Enough to try.
Kiss, tentative.
Then fierce. Redemption's taste. Smoky and sweet. Mom thrived. Turning Hale philanthropic. Marcus paroled early. Reformed in trades. Sending postcards. Proud.
Sis.
Dad passed quiet. Letter forgiving all. Lydia? Died in custody. Natural causes. Smirk eternal. Rebirth's arc closed not in triumph, but quiet. I prayed for one day once, got eternity's blank page. In Montana's hush, with Ethan mending fences, literal and not. I wrote the next chapter. Not revenge, but roots. America dreams big. I chose deep. And in the Raven's echo, Harlan smiled.